Well, we have a very nice crowd, so good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is the official public hearing for the Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration Certification Review. Today is May 11th, 2026. Georgiana Gillette, Director of the Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization. I would like to introduce the federal team that we have with us today. With Federal Highway Administration, we have Erica Thompson and Dana Knox. And both of them have lots of experience with Federal Highway, including the Florida Department of Transportation. So online, we have Aviance Webb with the Federal Transit Administration. So we're happy to have Aviance with us, although virtually. So I'm going to provide a brief overview of the SCTPO and the federal certification process. You will gain more knowledge about our primary functions, and this is just an opportunity for members and residents to engage directly with the federal review team by providing public comment. You can also leave a comment by scanning the QR code that is on the screen. So please hold all formal comments until after the presentation. In-person attendees may fill out a speaker card upon arrival or at any point in the program. If you are a TAC-CAC member and wish to make a formal comment, please fill out a speaker card as well. Don't raise your hand. This is not the Technical and Citizens Advisory Committee. This is the public hearing. If viewing online, attendees may submit comments via email during the event or afterward to Abby Hemingway at sctpo.com. Please label it public comment and include your name, email, and phone number. All public comments will be read aloud during the public comment portion of the program. Public comment period is 3 minutes. So at this point, I'd like to show a quick video.
The Space Coast is growing. We're reaching for the stars. But how do we get around on the ground? The Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization is planning now to meet our transportation needs of tomorrow. From roads and rails and ports to trails, we're looking at how we can invest in regional mobility, safety, and resiliency to keep us moving while also keeping us connected. Whether you're running errands, going to work, or planning your weekend, what kind of transportation options would help you get to your destinations? Autonomous shuttles, improved bike lanes, passenger rail? You have the power to shape the future of transportation. Visit sctpo.com or follow us on social media to get involved. Let's advance transportation together.
Advance transportation together, and that's what this is all about. The TPO continually monitors the conditions of our transportation systems mode. We carry out planning at the regional level to plan and prioritize transportation projects with state and federal funds. Collaboration is key to the process. We work with our citizens, local governments, transportation agencies, and elected officials to help address our needs, and we have a shared vision for the future. We were created to look at the big picture of transportation planning, and our committees and our governing board are forums for those conversations. The US DOT is required to certify the planning practices to determine how the region follows federal laws and regulations. Every 4 years, FTA and FHWA jointly review the metropolitan planning process for those areas over 200,000 population. This is categorized as a transportation management area. The Space Coast TPO is a transportation management area, and we receive additional federal funds and we have additional responsibilities. The MPO process is detailed in a lengthy set of federal requirements, best practices, and recommendations as a condition of receiving federal funds. The process evaluates how we plan, fund, and deliver transportation projects across Brevard County, and public input is a very key part of this review. So part of this review includes seeking your input and perspectives. How are we doing? How can we improve? This hearing is focused on how we plan, so not specific transportation projects. That's not what we're talking about today. But how is our overall planning and programming process? What is your feedback on how we engage the public, set priorities, and make decisions? We develop transportation plans to fix long and short-term needs. We coordinate transportation impacts and improvements. Projects are planned, selected, and prioritized for implementation to improve regional mobility. Federal, state, and local funds are limited, as we all know here. We align funding with the community's priorities and their needs. Why is it important that we do this? This planning and programming process determines how a significant share of federal transportation funding is spent. Due to limited funding, the SCTPO must collaborate to prioritize regional needs and determine the best and most economical solutions within the community context. It sets the foundation for the transportation system of tomorrow. Who's involved? Well, the SCTPO Governing Board and Advisory Committees, FDOT, Space Coast Area Transit, our cities and our counties, our modal agencies, and interest groups. And of course, our citizens, you, our citizens. And of course, our federal partners that are here in the room and online. So how is this done? All transportation planning that the federal government supports uses the 3C approach: continuous, comprehensive, and cooperative. Continuing, it's not a one-time event. You don't put it on the shelf and forget about it. Circumstances change, needs change. There has to be an ongoing planning process to update cycles. Comprehensive. Think about transportation as a comprehensive system of ways that things and people move around. Multimodal. You need to look at the entire metropolitan area, considering all strategies and transportation modes in the context of land use, economic development, and the environment. And then cooperative. We work together with our federal and state partners, but we have a local voice in transportation for our communities. So our governing board are the managers of the 3C process, and our committees are advising the governing board. Most importantly, public engagement and input are critical throughout each step from conception to construction. So I just want to touch very quickly on our core work products. The Unified Planning Work Program, that is our 2-year budget and business plan. It's a plan for planning. It also lists planning activities to be completed and the costs. Our long-range transportation plan, it's a 20-25-year plan. It's a vision, and it basically identifies projects in our long-term growth needs, potential solutions, but really it's the cornerstone for all transportation investments. Our congestion management process, it's an ongoing process for monitoring and evaluating the performance of the multimodal transportation system. It evaluates current congestion, crashes, and trends across all modes. And the key is it is fully integrated into the overall planning process. We do this annually with our State of the System report. That is our congestion management report. Our list of project priorities is a scored and ranked list of regional projects that are selected from the long-range transportation plan. We send that list to FDOT to tell them which projects we want funded first in the next state budget. The Transportation Improvement Program is a short-range program of projects to be funded and implemented within the next 5 years. It is financially constrained with expected revenues and costs and consistent with the FDOT work program. So it's real money on real projects, at least in the first 4 years. And then the public participation plan. It is our official guide for community engagement, ensuring your voice is heard in every decision we make. And of course, it is deeply embedded, into everything that we do. And this is our transportation planning bridge that we put together, and it shows how all of these things fit together. From the long-range plan, going across the bridge is our list of project priorities, and then the Transportation Improvement Program and the FDOT work program. And of course, the Unified Planning Work Program is at the bottom, which is our business plan. And as you can see, public input is throughout the process. All right, so here are some comments that we received so far from our citizens. Long-range planning and demographics, intergenerational focus. There needs to be an emphasis on the importance of engaging younger generations, Gen Z and Alpha, to understand their future travel preferences and expectations. Evolving work trends, inquiries regarding the impact of remote work on road capacity, and the need for research to prevent overbuilding infrastructure if traditional commuting patterns shift. Safety, resiliency, and multimodal connectivity. Vision Zero commitment. Strong support for the data-driven approach to reducing traffic fatalities and improving safety for pedestrians, bicyclists, and transit users. Coastal resiliency, recognition of the Transportation Resiliency Master Plan as a critical tool for protecting infrastructure against flooding, storm surges, and sea level rise. Quality of life, appreciation for complete streets, and walkability as essential components of local economic vitality and long-term livability. And then just a few more comments we received. Operational transparency and coordination, regional collaboration, praise for the TPO's role in multi-jurisdictional coordination, particularly regarding major freight and tourism corridors like State Road 528 and Port Canaveral. Accessibility of information, provide positive feedback on the organization's efforts to provide clear online access to plans and meeting materials. And then the last one, public trust. Acknowledgement that consistent communication and open engagement processes are successfully building community trust and inclusive decision-making. So great suggestions and comments, and we thank you very much for them. All right, your voice matters. Our 30-day public comment period was held April the 11th through May the 11th. That's today. So this is the last day for public comment. If you couldn't attend in person today, you can still make your voice heard. All comments submitted during this period will be included as part of the official federal certification review. Public citizens are encouraged to still share their thoughts through any of the methods below. Email Abby at abby.hemingway@sctpo.com. You can call us, 321-690-6890. You can submit comments to our online portal, which is listed there. And we can now open it up to see if we have any public comments.
So we do have one public comment from our Citizens Advisory Committee member, Pete Hick. So
All right.
I'm going to go ahead and pass the floor to Pete, and you can use your microphone.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, important stuff first. Good morning, Erica and Dana. Welcome to Brevard County. Now for my disclaimer. Sucking up to these people gets me absolutely nothing. So now I'm going to proceed, and what I'm going to talk about is public involvement and their effort. When they started this, Georgiana had to say 3 minutes. In our normal meetings, there is no time limit on the citizens. There's none mentioned. If a citizen comes up and wants to speak to the board, they give them unlimited time, and they pay attention. Now, that's hard. You know, at public meetings I've been to, my time has been cut to 1 minute, and I don't even have enough time to say my name and my address. And then when I do open my mouth, they don't want to hear it. They're on their cell phones and, you know, texting. But these people, they they listen, pay attention, and engage. And in our regular meetings, one of their big emphasis is always, how can we get more public involvement? Why is that important to me? Because a dumb citizen like me has dumb ideas that the bureaucrats don't want to hear, and they always shut me out. Well, maybe once in a long while I might have a halfway decent idea, and I would appreciate as a taxpayer if somebody paid me a little bit of attention, and they sure do that. They pay me a little bit of attention and encourage me to participate and get involved. Heck, my email box is full of invitations to get more involved in the planning process. I don't get paid, so I don't want to do it, but I get plenty of emails encouraging me. And I've been to a few public meetings where they have in the various different localities to involve the local public in changes that are happening. And I've seen them encourage and help guide us citizens along in the way we think, to get it more involved in the planning language, and they make sure they have contact information to where they can contact them and us citizens can contact them in return to share and get more information if we need to. When it comes to public involvement, I've never seen an agency that is as focused as these people are in not only helping us engage with them and continually trying to get more of the public to be involved in the planning process. And I'm going to leave it at that, and I don't expect anything in return for sucking your butts.
Well, thank you, Pete. We appreciate that very much. And we appreciate all of our technical and citizen advisory committee members and our citizens, because, you know, at the end of the day, they have a stake in it. And we're in this together. All right. So, I did not. So what happens next? I did not fast forward to the public comment section. So the report is issued in approximately 90 days from the Federal Highway team and transit team, summarizing the discussions during the review. And the process will either be deemed certified subject upon some corrective actions, which does happen at times, or not certified. And this is my contact information. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions and would just like to talk about additional items. And please stay connected. Follow us on social media, all of our social media platforms. And this officially concludes our public hearing, and we very much appreciate your time. And I think I will turn it over now to our two chairs of our Technical and Citizens Advisory Committee to kick off the committee meetings.
Thank you, Georgiana, and to the staff for doing such a good job with this. At this time, I'd like to kick off the Technical Advisory Committee and Citizen Advisory Committee meeting for the month. If you'd please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will start out with public comment if we have any public comment. Doesn't look like we have any public comment, so we'll move right into the
Let's see. Yes, if you would. Okay. So we're going to kick it off with our Vision Zero slide that we show every meeting. Crash fatalities in 2025, as you know, is 90. Crash fatalities year to date, 25. Crash fatalities since the last TPO governing board meeting is 13. And of course, here are some highlights, tragic highlights that hit the news. I'm not going to go through these fatality reports, but 2 fatalities on I-95, 2 separate crashes, one on US 1 down in Mico, and then one on the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge, where a vehicle went off the road into water and drowned. So, distracted driving is a major contributing factor to crashes that result in fatalities and injuries. And speeding is also a major contributing factor resulting in fatalities. So by overlapping multiple types of proven safety countermeasures, informed by the Safe Systems approach, safe roads, safe vehicles, safe speed, and post-crash care, and safe roads, we can continue the work to make our community safer for all road users. All right. And the only other thing I wanted to mention, the 2026 Notice of Funding Opportunity for the Safe Streets and Roads for All has been released. Applications must be submitted by May 26th by 5 p.m. We're working again with the City of Palm Bay to get another grant. So together we've identified a really good candidate project that's on the High Injury Network, identified in our Vision Zero action plan. It's called the DeGroot Road Sidewalk and School Safety Project. And as we progress with the application, we are in the process of collecting letters of support. And in your agenda package, there is a letter of support from the TPO to Secretary Duffy. So hopefully Palm Bay will be successful again as we were for the previous Safe Streets and Roads for All infrastructure project. So, Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Georgiana. We'll move into the consent agenda. We have 4 items today. The first one is the TAC-CAC meeting minutes from February 9th, 2026. Next is Work Order 26-23K as in Kilo, Transportation Trends Tracker. Resolution 26-16, adoption of fiscal year 27 through fiscal year 28, the final Unified Planning Work Program. And last, we have Work Order 26-24K as in Kilo, Funding the Future, Gas Tax Analysis. I'd look for a motion for approval. I have a motion. Do we have a second from the TAC? I have a second from Christie.
No, I have a comment
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
on the gas tax. Well, first of all, it's high time we have something like this on the agenda. And in the past, I've always advocated for a penny sales tax because I look at the real money. Where's the real money going to come from? And I'm going to give a simple example that even an engineer could understand. Now, I burn 5 gallons of gas a week. So at 6 cents tax per gallon, it's costing me 30 cents a week in gas tax. I have a $50 budget for miscellaneous items, beer at the Black Cat Bar, soft drink at the 7-Eleven, whatever I want to spend it on. At that 1 cent sales tax, my petty cash of $50 would generate 50 cents. That's 1.667 times more than the 30 cents that is generated by gas tax. And we're just talking a 1 penny sales tax, and just on my petty cash, not my whole household budget. Now let's look at the tourists. A tourist doesn't get the same breaks I do because they don't live here. They go out to eat, they buy trinkets and t-shirts and suntan lotion, and they buy a lot more sales tax items than we do, and they don't get the breaks because they're eating out and they're spending on their rooms. So by adding a 1 cent sales tax along with what we pay, it would more than quadruple the amount you're hoping to collect by raising the gas tax by what, 3 cents? And that should be included. And if we were really smart, we'd tell the voters, hey, we'll cut the gas tax in half if we can get a penny sales tax and really rip off our citizens. And I'm going to let it go at that.
All right, thank you, Pete. And from the CAC, can I get a motion for the consent agenda? Motion from Eric. Do we have a second? Second from Greg. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
And from the TAC, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, consent agenda passes unanimously. Next up are, we have 2 action items today. The first one is Resolution 26-17, fiscal year 26 through 30, tip number 4, and it's on page 52 in your packet.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a housekeeping item. It is the Florida Department of Transportation requested that the TPO amend our adopted fiscal year 26 through 30 Transportation Improvement Program to add a new project. This is the COCO Multimodal Station, but it's funding from the Federal Railroad Administration. It is a FRA funds, but it's a member project, $2 million in current year for construction. Now, this particular member project was applied for originally from Congressman Posey, but the funding did not come down until under Congressman Herodopoulos. And so this $2 million was actually included as part of the match that the City of Cocoa submitted for the Federal State Partnership Grant that we are awaiting hearing word from, and hopefully we'll have an award notice in June so we can understand what direction we're going. So the $2 million, we knew it was coming. I was not expecting it necessarily to show up in the DOT work program, but that is what this project is. So we want to amend the project to add this $2 million in the DOT work program. So we are asking for approval of Resolution 26-17, fiscal year 26 through 30 TIP amendment.
Thank you, Georgiana. Any discussion or questions?
Pete?
Yeah, hi, Georgiana. When you say multimodal, does that include Sunrail?
No, the term multimodal is really referring to the fact that the COCO station, we anticipate that you're tying together all modes of transportation. So,
I'd like to expand on the Sunrail a little bit if I could. If I recall, well, first of all, the new track from the station to the airport is built on the B line right away, and it's new track. It has nothing to do with FCC. I've heard in the past, oh, you can't mix FCC and Sunrail, but this section of rail is built totally independent of FCC. Secondly, if I remember correctly, when the funding went down, the state of Florida guaranteed the bond payments. Right now, you know, it's kind of iffy, and I hear that in South Florida they're really starting to lean on the speed of Brightline, because there's a lot of casualties down in South Florida, so there's a lot of political pressure to reduce the speed, which would really go against their business model. So, you know, the way you have taught this citizen to view a planning is to get more of a global picture. Now, if Sunrail was, if Brightline was to go down, state of Florida would own all this track. And we've got a beautiful station in Cocoa, and this track is going right to Orlando International, which is the next leg of Sunrail. And it just makes sense, and once again, you got me thinking this way, it makes sense that if we're putting millions into a station, that we could accommodate a Sunrail platform, because we may end up owning that rail line and we may end up having a station, and it would really be nice if a Sunrail trail can come there. And that would open me up to where I could go to Central Florida, tie in a drunk, and don't got to worry about driving.
very good comment. I mean, we have to look at all opportunities as it presents itself to us. So very good point.
Go ahead, Christy.
So has the 2 million already been programmed? Like, is it a match? Is it for rails? Is it a study? What is the 2 million for?
The 2 million is for construction for the COCO station. And it was not in the DOT work program. That was the difference. And so it is part of the match. It's part of the match, the federal-state partnership match. As you know, the TPO has 13.5 million of its federal funds on the project as well. City of Cocoa has 5 million, and Brevard County has 5 million, and then Brightline has over 12 million in a land donation, which can be considered part of the match as well. So a lot of different funding sources, and then this is just another one that is other federal funding, which can be considered part of the overall match for the FSP grant.
Any other questions or discussions? Okay, I'd look for a motion from the TAC. Have a motion, Debbie. And Morgan, second. Over to you, sir.
Okay, from the CAC, do we have a motion, please? Motion from Greg and second from Adam Kohler. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
And from the TAC, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, next item is approval of the 2026 Transportation Disadvantaged Service Plan Update, and it's found on page 57 in the packet.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Patty Rendon, Transportation Planner with the Space Coast TPO. Before we get into a brief overview of the annual updates to the Transportation Disadvantaged Service Plan, also referred to as the TDSP, I wanted to explain how the overall transportation disadvantage system works in Florida. At the top of the flow chart, you can see the Florida Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged, or CTD, sets statewide policy and contracts with the community transportation coordinators to ensure services are available. The CTD also designates a local planning agency called the Designated Official Planning Agency to help manage and oversee the program at the local level. The Designated Official Planning Agency, or DOPA, appoints and staffs the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board, and that coordinating board serves as the oversight body for the community. It reviews local needs, monitors performance, and recommends a community transportation coordinator to the CTD. Purchasing agencies such as social services or healthcare agencies buy trips for their clients through the Community Transportation Coordinator, or CTC, and in some cases they may also contract directly with the CTD or bill directly for services. The CTC then contracts with transportation operators to provide the actual trips, and these operators deliver transportation to the transportation disadvantaged riders, ensuring that people who have limited mobility options still have access to essential services and activities. So in Brevard County, it's organized as the DOPA, the SCTPO, works with the CTD at the state level and helps guide local planning. Together, they support the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board, or TDLCB, which serves as the central link between state-level direction and local service delivery. The SCTPO and TDLCB then designates Brevard County and Space Coast Area Transit as the community transportation coordinator. Space Coast Area Transit then works directly with purchasing agencies, transportation operators, and coordinated contractors to arrange and provide trips. At the end of the process are the transportation disadvantaged riders who receive coordinated, accessible transportation services through this entire structure. So now that we have more of an understanding of how this system works, we can move on to the item we're discussing today. The TDSP is an annually updated tactical plan jointly developed by the SCTPO and Space Coast Area Transit, which contains development, service, and quality assurance components. The TDLCB reviews and approves the service plan, and it is then approved by the SCTPO board and submitted to the CTD for final action. The service plan covers a 5-year period with annual updates for years 2 through 5, due prior to July 1st of each subsequent year. and the development and submission of the service plan and annual updates are the responsibility of Transit, the SCTPO, and the TDLCB. In order to prevent any loss of funding, it is critical that the plan and updates are submitted timely. So the purpose of the TDSP is to identify who the transportation disadvantaged population is and where they are, access current transportation services, assess current transportation services and gaps, unmet needs, times or areas not served, to set goals, objectives, and priorities for improving mobility for TD individuals, guide funding decisions, and support applications for state and federal grants, and improve coordination among agencies, providers, and local governments. So this annual update will be submitted to the CTD by July 1st and has the following components. The introduction of the development plan, which includes a needs assessment and assures that new service or capital needs are identified to support future funding applications. A service plan, which includes changes in types of hours or of service and any significant changes in system policies, priorities, eligibility criteria, et cetera. A cost, revenue allocation, and rate structure justification, which includes a review of current and updated projected expenses, revenues, levels of service, and makes adjustments accordingly, and a new service rate summary page, as well as a rate model and worksheets, updated rate model and worksheets. And quality assurance, which includes any evaluation process changes and updates to the summary of the latest coordinator evaluation. So some highlights of the 2026 summary of changes to the introduction and development plan include updated formatting to include updated SCTPO brand and style guidelines and an updated narrative and approval dates, review and update of plans, policies, programs, and a needs assessment, as well as the 2025 TD survey results. And some more highlights from the service plan and quality assurance sections include updated types of hours, days of service, and fares, and updated local complaint and grievance procedures process. Lots of P's. And quality insurance, the 2025 CTC evaluation results and narrative. And as a reminder, we will be doing a major update of the TDSP in 2027 for the following 5-year period. And with that, staff is requesting approval of the draft 2026 annual Transportation Disadvantaged Service Plan update.
Thank you. Any questions? Any discussion? Okay. I'd look for a motion for approval from the TAC. I see one from Debbie. Look for a second from Christie, okay?
And from the CAC, do we have a motion, please? Motion from Gil, second from Eric. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
From the TAC, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, good job. Next up is the presentations section of the meeting today. We have 2 presentations. The first one is the draft fiscal year 27 through 31 Transportation Improvement Program.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I feel like I'm talking a lot today, more than usual. So today we're kicking off the annual Transportation Improvement Program development for fiscal year 27 through 31. So this is our brand new TIP. So this is a program of projects that, FDOT expects to build over the next 5 years using state and federal transportation funding. And the TIP brings our vision to life, and it's really an integral part of our planning efforts. Providing a transportation system that is safe, multimodal, innovative, and resilient for all is our vision. And of course, this is our planning bridge. I think you all have seen it so many times over the past year. And the relationship between all of the work products. The long-range plan presents a shared vision for the community's transportation needs in the future, and it directs the use of public funds. In terms of timing, the 30-day public comment period will start on May 18th and run through June 18th. All public comments will be included in the final TIP document. Our open house will be on June 9th, and the final TIP adoption will be on July 9th. And we will transmit the TIP to the DOT and federal partners at that time. So what is in the draft TIP? What you have in your agenda package are just the projects, not the full document, but there are 110 projects totaling $1.2 million in the next 5 years. And these are projects that are going to improve safety, economic development for Brevard County. So there are lots of different types of projects and transportation modes. You know, we have a pretty diverse transportation portfolio here in Brevard County. Seaport, spaceport, aviation, transit, intermodal rail, safety and technology. Maintenance, highway capacity, and major projects. As you can see here, and I know we've talked about this before, the lion's share of the funding is the Spaceport Improvement Program, which, by the way, we talked about when we had a presentation in December. That is a statewide program. And that value, that large amount of money, also includes a local match. In fact, 40% of that is private industry funding. So it's very strategic use of state funding for the program. There has not been a lot of new projects added to the new tentative TIP at this time, but we'll go over a few of those projects. New technology and safety projects. There is one priority project that was fully funded, and that is State Road 405, the NASA Causeway Space Commerce Way ITS project. That was a priority project on our priority list, and I think it was another component of the INFA grant, if I'm not mistaken, for the NASA Causeway Bridge replacement, which was, I think it was a $90 million INFA grant that replaced that bridge, and it is a beautiful bridge, and so we're very happy about that. So this is another component of that that was going to be funded with state funding. Other projects include I-95 ITS surveillance system, guardrail, and new traffic signals. So there's a lot of safety and technology improvements. There's also a few new resurfacing projects. 3 of them are in Titusville, a major project on US 1, South Street, and Columbia Boulevard. I-95 improvements from Vieira Boulevard to Fisk include the installation of auxiliary lanes. So it's not a widening, but it is adding a lane from interchange to interchange, which really does add capacity and safety for the corridor. And there's some other components to improve mobility and safety. Oh, I'm sorry, and there's the resurfacing projects that I mentioned and went through. And last, there's the new aviation projects. 3 new aviation projects, and they're listed there. So the draft TIP comment period, again, will commence from May 18th to June 18th. You can go to our website to review the full document, but we are going to send out that document officially at the beginning of the draft comment period. So you all can have it and be able to look through it and offer any comments. And then, of course, our annual open house, I mentioned that. This is an important meeting that we have to really engage the citizens. Abby does a great job of really putting it out there on social media, pulling people in so they can talk to us about transportation projects. And we usually have a very, very good outcome of, to see the citizens come to the meeting. So that will be here at the Center for Collaboration in this room as well. So that is the draft TIP, and more to come on that as we send it out.
Thank you, Georgiana. Any questions for Georgiana on the tip presentation.
Yeah, Pete?
Rankings, it appears to be by corridor, south, central, north, and the beaches. Am I following that correct?
Is this the map?
Yeah, the maps with the rankings next to them, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then on the next one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yes, that
So-
is the list of project priorities. I think you
Right.
went, yep.
For each corridor.
Yes.
And then I get to a page where there's a bunch of green letters, and it appears to be a ranking from A through Q. How does that relate to the pages I just was looking at with 1, 2, 3?
Yes, as Sarah said, that is the fully funded list of projects.
Okay,
And-
so the per corridor is a wish list. For each corridor, there's a wish list of 1 through 7. Some have money, some don't.
Correct, yeah.
And then on the last page where everything is green, you're giving me a green color that these are good to go. And then they're ranked according A number 1 all the way down to the bottom.
So Sarah is going to present the list of project priorities, so she can mention that and kind of explain what those maps
So you
portray.
save my soul, Sarah. Get me out of confusion. I hate to be in the fog.
All right.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Christy.
So that wrong way driving on I-95, that's a new one. I hadn't heard that. I mean, is that a big problem here? Is it backed by data, I hope? Because it sounds like we're spending over $1 million for signs. I hope that's not true.
I think that it happens more than you would think. I've heard this, Chuck, I don't know if you have any information on it, but I do think it happens more often than you would think. It's hard to believe someone would get on the interstate and go the wrong way, but it does happen. And so clearly, I think for the department to make that sort of investment, it is something that they feel that they need to do to improve safety.
Is it just signs, or what is it?
It's intelligent transportation system, so it's probably dynamic message signs. I don't have all of the information, but we can probably get you some more information on that to understand what the project is.
Yeah, Greg?
Yeah, just help me understand. So the first part of this is your 5-year summary of projects. And the list is rather long. Just to make sure I understand, as we've talked about a lot in this meeting before, only a fraction of that is actually can get funded because of the crisis we're in, as we talked about earlier, with trying to get money from gas or sales or EV.
So Greg, now if you're looking, now the Transportation Improvement Program, this is the projects that have received funding. So these projects either come off of our priority list, which are typically capacity, bicycle, pedestrian, ITS, or it's maintenance and our modal agencies. These are projects that have received funding within the DOT's 5-year work program. So it's real money, really on real projects. So what Sarah is going to present is the list of project priorities. Yes, which is, you know, these are projects, kind of a wish list, but these are projects that were identified in the long-range plan. And when we feel that it can move forward within a short period of time, within a 5+ year period of time, then we would move that project and its cost feasible onto the priority list from the long-range plan. So
And as I've learned, it's pay as you go for the different phases as well.
that's
Yeah.
exactly right. It can take a long time for it to move through the funding pipeline.
So just
to
as
speak.
we have our Ellis Road example, we have our St. John's Heritage Parkway example.
Yes, Ellis Road is in the Transportation Improvement Program. You know, it's moving forward. I didn't highlight that project this time, but
One
needless to
picture says it
say,
all.
needless to say, we are very happy because it's moving forward quickly.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Any other questions for
Pete.
Georgiana?
Yeah, one more thing for Georgiana. The Transportation Management Center, that's under construction.
It's,
And
yes.
reading the information I'm getting is all the equipment for it is not funded yet.
I believe that everything that is needed to build the traffic management center is included within the cost of the project.
Right, that would be all the wiring and all the
Yes,
plug-ins.
yes,
Now, when we're
yes.
talking the actual real-time screens to see what's happening out on the road, that money isn't there yet?
Oh, yes, it's all part of it. It's part of the project.
Okay, because that is one of the most important projects we have going on.
Absolutely, it's our future. In fact, we're going to take the federal team, we're going on a bus ride
All
after
right.
this meeting because they wanted to see some of our major transportation projects, and we're going to, going by the Traffic Management Center is an important one because it's our future. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, how do you improve capacity with the cost of right-of-way in Florida?
That's right.
That's the only way to go.
Yep. All right.
Okay, thank you, Georgiana.
Thank you.
Next up, draft fiscal year 28 list of project priorities. Morning, Sarah.
Hi, good morning. Sarah Crom, Senior Transportation Planner. So before I get started, I did want to review what is within your agenda package, and this should help provide some clarity as well, Pete. So everyone should have a list of project priorities that looks like this, that outlines each of the priorities, the phases that are funded, as well as also the phases that are unfunded, or the next phase that's unfunded. And then you should also have our freshly branded new maps, updated maps, that these list by number the priorities, so these should coincide with your project priorities, except for the page that Pete was referring to, which is your last one. These are the fully funded. These are in no rank or order. There is no methodology really of A, B, C, D, where they fall within the alphabetical. And so that's why we use the letters versus a number, because we're not assigning a rank, because these projects are fully funded and are not pursuing construction or any additional funding at this time. Now, that does not mean, like, for example, the Michigan Avenue Trail, a couple years ago, or I guess it was only like a year ago, it came in a little bit high. We luckily had the little bit of money, I think it was less than $100,000 to be able to provide to it. So that's why we maintain the fully funded list until the project is actually done and constructed. All right. So this year's draft fiscal 28 list of project priorities. I know this is the third time that you've seen our planning bridge, so just briefly, we start with the long-range transportation plan. Georgiana just did a wonderful job of explaining it, that's our cost feasible plan, as well as our needs list. Projects are then pulled off of the cost feasible plan, put on the list of project priorities to be the wish list to pursue funding in the next 5 years. If they receive funding, they then move into the TIP. And that is how the project moves through the pipeline. So we are currently here on the list of project priorities. So we're on that bridge span that goes from the LRTP to the TIP. The process of developing our list of project priorities is annually we go out for a call for projects. The only projects that can be received are ones that are within the LRTP cost feasible plan. Our municipalities submit applications. We then evaluate and rank those applications based on a very concise set of 100-point criteria. And then we'll move into adopting and ultimately submitting the list of project priorities to FDOT. FDOT then reviews applications, goes through any vetting or meeting process that they need to fully understand the process and its project and its eligibility. We work very close with FDOT to develop their work program. And ultimately, the projects get to either a local agency program implementation, where you as a municipality are building the project, or FDOT is implementing the project on behalf of the city. So what's new this year? So we updated our project funding in phases. So any projects that received funding and we needed to reflect those changes within their phasing on the list of project priorities. We updated the scores based on the latest state of the system and high injury network, so looking at the congestion and safety of each project. We moved the Cocoa Multimodal Station to grants and appropriations. I'll talk about that a little bit more further down the presentation. We moved several projects to fully funded. We moved several projects to our candidate list. Our candidate list is kind of like a parking lot where they're not quite ready to be on the list of project priorities, but we don't want to lose them. We added 4 new projects to grants and appropriation, and we had 1 new Transportation System Management and Operation, or ITS, project. So Georgiana already mentioned the Cape Canaveral Spaceport ITS project that was fully funded. Also, Brevard County received a state appropriation to fully fund the West Central Avenue Bridge and Merritt Island. We also had 2 projects that were completed in this last fiscal year. Brevard County Parks and Rec completed the Parish Park Trailhead along Max Brewer Bridge. That's a coast-to-coast trailhead, so very important. As well as also the City of Melbourne completed a sidewalk on NASA Boulevard from Eddie Allen to Evans. The new project we received was from the City of Melbourne. It is a ITS project along Lake Washington from Wickham to US 1. This will expand the ITS system to include fiber, CCTV, and other upgrades. Currently, the request is for $151,000. If anyone recalls the LAP manual from FDOT, a project must be up to $250,000. So currently we're working with the city to bundle several small ITS projects so that they get up to that threshold and ultimately get a better project. So I'm now going to walk you through each of the sections of our list of project priorities and let you know what's changed, what hasn't changed, and essentially the status. So the Strategic Intermodal System, or SIS list, which these projects traditionally are only pursuing SIS funding, which is a specific box of money that FDOT uses. There are no changes. However, I would like to draw attention to number 2, the I-95 interchange at Malabar Road. We are anticipating that hopefully we'll be able to move that project to the fully funded list this year, because currently we are coordinating with FDOT and the City of Palm Bay on implementing some operational improvements within the resurfacing that is currently happening on the I-95 and or shortly after that resurfacing on an additional contract. So we're looking at bridging that gap and really getting those short-term improvements done and accomplishing it to really help move people through that area much quicker. The regionally significant state roadways, there were no changes on this. All the ranks remain the same, and we had no additional projects submitted. So you're looking at still having Fisk Boulevard or State Road 519 at Roy Wall, the intersection improvements as number 1, as that project only needs to pursue construction funding. And if you recall, we always rank projects that only need construction right up at the top, because we want to finish what we started and get that project actually built. And then State Road 524, 501, the A1A Complete Street and Cape Canaveral, the State Road section of Malabar, the widening of State Road 405, the widening, I changed the page too fast, State Road 507, a very small curb and gutter project in A1A on Cocoa Beach, intersection improvements at 518 and Wickham, US 1 and Vieira, and US 1 at Barnes, as well as also 518 and Sarno Road or State Road 5054. All right, regionally significant non-state roadways. We did have, none of the ranks changed. However, Hollywood Boulevard widening was moved over to the candidate list. This is so on the request of Brevard County, as they want to take a step back and look at cost-feasible operation improvements to relieve congestion. This is a very expensive, very large project, and they want to be able to provide something to the community quicker than it will take to build this massive widening project. So they're taking a step back, considering what they might be able to get done. And other than that, there were no changes within this list. The TSMO, or Transportation Systems Management and Operation list, did have the 1 new project, which falls under as number 6 as Lake Washington. And so that's there. Bicycle and pedestrian, we did remove 2 US 1 projects along in Palm Bay. This was because they were already being addressed within resurfacings and other projects. And there were some minor score changing. So you'll notice the State Road 518 trail flip-flopped with the State Road A1A Shearwater Parkway to Pineda. So we continue to have a lot of A1A sidewalk projects that we need to coordinate with FDOT and hopefully, get built to fill in those critical gaps. All right, so this is probably the bigger conversation is our Sun Trail list is we have moved the Space Coast Trail to the candidate list. If you recall, we've been working with FDOT as well as the federal agencies out on the Wildlife Refuge and National Seashore for years upon years upon years. And so that project has been moved to the candidate list and will not continue to construction at this time. This is because the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge cannot commit to maintaining the trail, and FDOT has not been able to secure a maintenance agreement with another entity. So at this time, due to not having someone willing to sign on to maintain the trail, FDOT is unable to construct. However, we are hoping and we are trying to work with FDOT to get those Sun Trail monies moved on to the US 1 East Coast Greenway Trail so that funding still stays within the Titusville community and it is still improving the trails within the Titusville community. Grant and appropriations. Now that we do not rank the grant and appropriations section because these projects are not actively pursuing the Space Coast TPO's federal funds. So these are projects that are pursuing grants and appropriations, which is why we made the decision this year that we felt that the Cocoa Multimodal Station was more properly represented within the grants and appropriations list as it is pursuing the federal and state partnership grant. We also had 4 new projects added. We have so down at the bottom, you have the Malabar Road roundabout at St. John's Heritage Parkway submitted by Palm Bay. Georgiana already mentioned earlier and within her report is that we are working on the DeGroot Safe Streets and Roads for All Safety Grant. That'll be submitted later this month. Palm Bay also submitted an Emerson Road widening from St. John's Heritage Parkway to Jupiter Boulevard, and Brevard County, a Grissom Parkway widening from Port St. John Parkway to Fay Boulevard. The list of project priorities. Here's our development schedule is as follows. We follow the same schedule as the TIP does. And so we'll be looking at our 30-day public comment from May 18th to June 18th, ultimately with adoption on July 9th. There is the same public comment, so please, we hope you will participate in the public comment period, share on your social media, send out the newsletter, forward on all that information so that we can get the public input on these project priorities. And of course, our annual open house on June 9th. With that, I will take any questions.
Any questions for Sarah?
Christie?
I have a question about Hollywood. So when you say candidate list, is that just a TBD? Is that really what that
correct,
list
yeah,
is?
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then did the county, I don't know if the county's here today, but did they talk about, they're going to try to get some of these projects back on the next year's list? Do you know?
So, Karina, would you like to, I'd like to defer to Karina.
Like Sarah explained, we're taking a step back to reevaluate what improvements may be more cost effective, and then we're going to put them back on the list and identify funding and expenditures accomplished. But they're going to be concentrated in these three higher volume areas, major congestion areas like Glacier County Road. So ready to currently it's widening all of Hollywood Boulevard.
Right, well, we knew that widening was sort of a pipe dream, but I'm hoping that you all put something on next year so you show forward movement, because it was really disheartening to the community to see Hollywood Boulevard taken off. But yeah, if the approach is to do it, by intersection, add turn lanes, and potentially a few additional through lanes, I fully support that.
Yeah, Aaron?
So that Lake Washington project, what happens while they're doing that? So Lake Washington, there's parts of it that have 2 lanes and parts that have 1. I'm the bicyclist concern here. It doesn't have any shoulders, but at least in the spots where there's 2 lanes, there's usually a light enough traffic that they'll get in the other lane and leave us alone. But what I've found in a lot of the projects lately, they will take either the bike lane / shoulder or part of the lane when there's 2 lanes and just put those barrels in them. And all of a sudden we're out, the only place we can be is where the traffic is, and the traffic gets very annoyed at us. Plus, all of a sudden it appears. So I'm wondering, like, when they do this ITS project, what's getting dug up? What happens? Like, I know there's design guidance for the ultimate, what the road will look like when these projects are done, but no one seems to be considering the cyclists while the project is going on. Right now on Wickham, right before Pineda, when you're heading north, there's some big thing going on. It's just dirt. My understanding is whatever was happening got suspended, but they left the barrels there. So we're like out in traffic to get down, and people start screaming at us.
Yeah.
Luckily, nobody's killed me yet, but
Yeah.
they're not happy. So what is our approach with all that?
So maintenance of traffic plans are typically developed through the scope process that the cities or FDOT go through. So I'm looking at Todd right now, and when that project gets to that level, if you could take Aaron's comments in consideration, ensure that the maintenance of the traffic for that specific project is considered. I think, clearly there's a bigger conversation that needs to be had, and, we can take it back to FDOT and see what kind of set guidance we could maybe get.
Right, to have the guidance in general, because also on Pineda, when you cross over 95 and you start heading into what I call the parade of homes back there where Costco is, they're doing a project there too, and it looks like somebody might have talked to them, because now the barrels are only halfway into the bike lane, but they're not really thinking of it, because all of a sudden, like if you decide to trust that, all of a sudden there's a barrel right there.
Yeah.
And you can't, you end up having to make the decision, I'm getting in the traffic lane, because when I come across that barrel, I'm not going to have time to react if there's a car to my left. And it's very, very disturbing.
Well, we definitely appreciate that, and we don't want anyone getting injured during a construction project. So we'll work with Chuck and see what we can do to beef up that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The other thing, this Grissom Parkway, why are we only widening it up to Fay? What is the logic there?
I will also defer to Karina on that question on
Give
how.
her a mic, please.
I know.
Can you take a mic before you answer? Because nobody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is it on? It's on?
I think so.
Okay. That is another project that we are currently assessing what the improvements actually should be. And it could be one of the ideas was previously a 4-lane divided roadway. But you're right, once it gets to Fay and north of Fay, it's a lot of driveways. It would be a huge impact to widen north of there, but also south of there to Bridge Road, if you're familiar with Grissom Parkway. So we're looking at what alternatives could be provided along that section that could improve some of the congestion that occurs based on school traffic, AM, PM, peak hour traffic, to determine what could be done to improve intersections, traffic flow. We don't know exactly what the improvements will be yet, but it will consist of widening to add, at a minimum, add auxiliary lanes.
Oh, that would, yeah. Although then it narrows into some nexo, how much can
It
that
does,
help? Yeah.
but the traffic volume does reduce north of Fay.
Does it? Okay. I am familiar with every neighborhood to the right and left of there, because we will not go down the middle of Port St. John on a bike.
Yeah,
Because it's a disaster, but yeah, okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Karina.
Pete?
Yeah, I'm going to help you out on the MOT. Well, certified MOT, and I can do designs as far as traffic control through work zone goes. So your number one problem is my number one problem too. When they shut a bike lane, they don't have to tell me squat because I'm considered a vehicle. So when I see that arrow board, that means get in the lane of traffic whether I like it or not. I don't like it, and I do get cussed at just like you do. But hey, the rules and the laws for the state are what they are. The second thing, when it comes to placing of barrels, nothing pisses me off than when I have to go in the road and there's room for them to keep the barrel over far enough. But now these guys work for the contractor. They're going to make as much room for themselves as they possibly can and still stay within the traffic control plans. Now, they can give me, the bicyclist, more room, but they don't, because they're not working for me. They're not looking out for me. They're looking out for themselves. So I can kick over their barrel because I'm pissed, or, you know, I can...
You'll break your foot if you try to kick over that barrel.
Well, they're soft plastic, you know. Or I can take a gander, and if there's no one coming, shoot around the barrel. But, hey, I'm with you. It's a pain in the butt, especially when they have the room and don't give it. But, you know,
It's more than a pain in the butt. It is very, very dangerous.
Well, on the other hand, I like being considered a vehicle sometime because I can get into traffic and give people the one finger salute, you know. I got the right to be here. So, you know, it's a little bit of give and take. And not to get back to Sarah, well, when I was at the bike rodeo in Titusville, I was talking to a couple ladies from the department, and they said there's a big emphasis from no longer funding the amenities that come along with road widening, like the bike lanes and the wider sidewalks. Has any of that come your way? Are you aware of any of that, or was I just hearing some BS?
Well, a couple years ago, due to issues due to inflation and some budget cuts within the resurfacing program, FDOT changed their resurfacing program to be pavement-only projects or POP projects, which means that it would just be what is required to maintain the surface of the roadway versus with 3R or the resurfacing projects that we've traditionally had, such as Fisk Boulevard, where we were able to fill in a lot of sidewalk gaps and do a lot of and get nicer bike lanes and keyholes through that resurfacing project. They've had to kind of shift more to not including those additional amenities. However, we do see hope in the horizon, and it does sound like they're bringing back a couple of 3R projects where, with partnership from the FDO, from the TPO, or the municipalities. So for example, the State Road 520 resurfacing, all of the additional amenities were paid for by the TPO's federal funds and the city of Cocoa. But FDOT administered the project within the resurfacing. So I wouldn't say that the department is shifting away from adding additional amenities in general, just that within the resurfacing projects, we're dealing with a tighter budget and not able to get as much bang for our buck with these pavement-only projects.
Yeah, we get that. I'm sad to hear that my worst nightmare on all this is true. Because, you know, when I got into planning, I didn't know squat. But I know that the planning emphasis on use cars less and use multimodal more, because we flat out don't have the bucks to construct wider roads and wider roads and wider roads. So here we have a mobilization for resurfacing, and it gives the opportunity for a reduced cost to put in some amenities. And when that's taken away, now we're back to the pre-days where, you know, we had 5-6 million people living in Florida, and we had all this right away. Like, who give a damn? We can add a lane. What do you mean right away cost? Land is cheap. But those days are over, and that's sad, you know, sad to hear that. Anyhow, we hope that'll change. And the second thing was the beach trail. You know, that goes from the Indian River to Play Linda Beach. That comes and that goes, and that comes and that goes. And you say, now the only hang-up is nobody wants to sweep off the road if there's a little bit of dirt in there, or because it's a Merritt Island wildlife refugee, it's really a complicated maintenance contract that nobody wants to get involved with. Is that what it is?
Well, so the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge has remained supportive and are still supportive of the trail. However, due to their own budget cuts, as well as also last year they received significant staffing cuts, they do not feel like they can pay for the maintenance of the trail and have the staff to do it. And then in turn, you know, obviously it's their property. And so I know that some of the municipalities have been hesitant to commit to maintaining a trail that is not within their municipal limits.
Okay, so I remember for the nude beach, Broward County sure stuck their hands in the nude beach. Yeah, but they're not willing to maintain the trail.
I
Yeah,
cannot
no,
comment
I'm
on.
talking crap, you know. I'm talking crap, you know. They're willing to go out there and arrest you if you're suntanning your booty, but they don't want to pick up a Coke bottle on the trail. I get it.
Well, the TPO remains supportive of the trail. We'll keep it on our on the candidate list, as well as also within our showcase trails, where if additional funding or support come down where the wildlife refuge does feel like they can continue, then we're ready.
Well, if it's the feds, and with the budget cuts being a priority right now within the federal government, which they are within the federal government, it doesn't seem like that money is going to come that way anytime soon. So the alternate, Brevard County maintains a lot of trails. I mean, they do. And that trailhead that $4 million was spent on is in Brevard County. So it would be too much to discuss with the county about doing maintenance.
I would suggest reaching out to the county if you have suggestions or questions regarding the maintenance of the trail. They have been engaged with the conversations, and
well, yeah, I sure do, is get away with gas tax, and do a 1-cent sales tax, double your money and pay for trail maintenance.
Yeah, Aaron.
Yeah, I know I'm harping on this, but the other thing besides barrels, when there's a construction project going on South Patrick Drive right now, below Patrick Space Force Base, first of all, that road is typically wonderful. They have a bike lane, it's wide, the lane that the cars are in is wide, so nobody's feeling like you're getting encroached upon. But now they're repaving it, which is also wonderful. But again, during the construction, I went down there and there are no barrels in the bike lane. It's technically open, but they've paved, and they still have a long way to go, but they've started paving the car lane and then left the bike lane where it's a ledge, like those ledges where a friend of mine broke his femur because of a ledge like that. And you can't go in there as a bicyclist because it's full of debris because of all the construction going on.
Okay.
So again, you're out in the lane with the rest of the traffic during a construction project, which is going to go on for a while.
yeah, Chuck, since that's a newer construction project, could you coordinate with Aaron and the project manager, and maybe we can get some more frequent sweeping from the contractor?
Yeah, or we can talk separately. And I don't know why don't, when you pave the car lane, why don't you immediately come and pave just that much of the shoulder? Like, why do you have to leave these ledges around? It's crazy.
I can help out on that too. If they don't put any money in the contract for cleanup, I suggested if they want us to clean the,
And the people normally cleaning it will not clean during construction
Right.
time.
I
'Cause
mean, if
all right,
you-
we're hard.
Yeah, see, if you have people working and, somebody says, why don't you clean the roadway? There's no money, you don't get paid to clean up. You have your normal trash pickup, but there's no money for cleanup. I've suggested that they have mobilization, that they have a monthly draw on cleanup in the mobilization costs. Then I can get subcontractors to clean up after themselves more often. But for some reason, they don't want to do that. So if you tell somebody to do work where they're not getting paid, it's pretty hard to get them to do it. You can gig them on safety, but you got a job going on and their priorities is getting asphalt down and people aren't showing up to work, and it seems like everybody's always short-handed, me included, when I'm an independent contractor. So it's kind of, you let the trash build up, and then once a week you clean it up. And in the meantime, you just dog the complaints. Yeah, we'll get it. Don't worry. We'll take care of it. But that doesn't solve your problem because the garbage is there. There should at least be once a week cleanup. And once again, the problem is they don't get paid. It's easy enough to put in the mobilization, you have monthly draws for cleanup. Then you don't get your draw if you don't clean up. But, it's one of those things. And I hope I helped you a little. in your understanding of what's going down.
Well, I understand what's going down, but it doesn't help. But anyway, fine. We don't need to harp on it anymore. We'll talk to Chuck.
Okay, anything else for Sarah?
Robert? Yeah, Robert? Get some?
Ginger has one too.
Appreciate Pete mentioning the Space Coast Trail, and Sarah knows it came to my attention at one of the subcommittee meetings, and I'll take my port hat off because I'm on the Merritt Island Wildlife Association board, which is the Friends group for the refuge. Chuck and Tyler Burgett were great at getting some information to me that I shared with the association. It's good to hear that this project is still going to stay in the radar, but it's sad to see it go away because it's something that apparently has been worked on for over 10 years. And it's a little bit unfair to say it's the refuge's fault, and I think Pete hit on it. It's multiple, county, city that couldn't step forward to do the maintenance. Now, there are some environmental issues still with the trail that have to be worked out, but the main thing is maintenance. And a lot of the maintenance, this isn't even refuge property, it's NASA property, and there's certain legal terms that they have to account for. They have to have funding available to do the maintenance, and they don't have that for the reasons you mentioned, from staffing cuts and funding cuts. So it'd be great if we can still look forward and have that done, because Pete brought up a great point. There's the trailhead at Parish Park that's supposed to be coast to coast. Well, it doesn't quite make it all the way to the coast, because I think that would be a great amenity to have out there. And certainly, speaking on behalf of the association with the refuge, I think there's something, I think they want to be involved in it. And as I mentioned, a lot of the work that's done out there anyway is done by volunteers. They maintain Black Point Drive. They keep the trash off of that. So I think there's a way to make this happen if that is still one of the sticking points in the future.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, Ginger?
In regards to the trail, my suggestion when talking with Robert earlier is like, can we take interim steps to make it a gravel trail that doesn't require the maintenance?
We don't have a funding source for gravel. Sun Trails has to be paved.
It's not paved. There's people riding gravel bikes that now ride the Three Forks.
I know what I'm saying is the funding source for the construction requires paved. So we don't have a funding source to pay for an unpaved trail.
So you can't take interim steps to get to
I mean, we could take interim steps if the wildlife refuge is open to it, and we can definitely bring that to them. I'm just saying that the money that's on the project can't be used for that type of improvement. I think it's a great idea. I just don't know how we'd pay for it.
The other thing I'd say is one of the big expenses to the trail maintenance is the right-of-way of the trail. So that's, mowing the grass on either side of the trail, and then also the encroachment of the trees and bushes and stuff. That's where a lot of the maintenance comes in.
And specifically looking at this trail, you're looking at fences that are along fire breaks that potentially could get damaged within a controlled burn is one of the other maintenance sticking points.
I had another question. When is Babcock, not Babcock, Wickham and Pineda going to be completed? It is very dangerous for the vulnerable users that are going through that intersection.
Karina, if you could just yell out a date, I'll repeat in the microphone. When is Wickham and Pineda going to be completed?
Bern County Public Works just took over the construction project. The previous contractors.
Right, I heard.
They are starting to do the work. They may have it completed within a month to 2 months.
Okay.
A month to 2 months.
Okay. As long as we're moving forward.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right. So once again, please attend our open house, participate in the public comment period, and thank you for all the wonderful questions.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah.
Okay, next up is our report section of the meeting, and the first report is from the Space Coast TPO. the committee's report.
All right, we've combined all of the various committees under one report. So the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board, the Bicycle, Pedestrian, and Trails Advisory Committee. So you have the attendance record as well as, minutes from the meeting and when they actually met. And there's also the public engagement report in there as well. No, excuse me, it's not. Just the committee's report. My apologies.
Yep, that's good. Thank you, Georgiana. Does anyone have any questions for Georgiana on the committee's report? Okay, we'll move on to the public engagement report. Good morning, Abby.
Good morning. Hi, everyone. My name is Abby Heavenway, and I'm the Public Information and Outreach Manager for the Space Coast TPO. And we haven't seen you in a while, so we've been doing some great things out in the community. And this report is really just to report back on our communications efforts, our outreach initiatives, and our community engagement. So the first thing we're going to talk about, we already heard about this morning. This past month, we have been promoting the Federal Certification Review public hearing. And knowing that this effort only happens every 4 years, we're really determined to raise more awareness each time it comes around. And so some of those outreach efforts included social media campaigns, e-blasts, press releases, of course, reaching out to our partners and our committees and board to make sure that they were aware. And we also hosted a dedicated web page this year, which had a couple of comment portal embedded in that web page to make it easier for citizens to relay their information to us. It was also extremely important that the public understood what this review is and why it matters. We do a lot in planning. We always have open houses and workshops, and this one's really different in the fact that it's about the planning process. So we really tried to make that clear this year in the messaging. And lastly, it was also important to us that people understood the purpose and that it was accessible and easy to understand. I think planning can get very technical, we all know, and so to make it really digestible for our citizens. So thank you to those who participated and submitted comments. Moving on, I wanted to share an overview of some of the communication efforts that we had over the last few months. Of course, we always see strong engagement across our digital platforms. You can see here some of our press releases and our newsletters got an open rating and a higher open rating. And on social media, we had lots of visibility and reach. And really, what does this all mean? It really means that our content, people aren't just looking at it, but they're engaging with it. So they're opening our emails, they're reacting to our posts, and more importantly, if they share our information, that's what we want. We want to make sure that we're spreading the word. So when you look up here at the screen, some of the top performing social media content you can see was related to some of our community events, which Lee is going to share more on here in a minute, some transportation initiatives, and some things going on lately for the last couple months. And always on social media and typically any of our platforms, the things that resonate the most, I think, with our citizens are the human stories and what we're doing with our partners. So looking ahead, these are some of the topics that are coming up here in May. Of course, it's Bicycle Safety Month, it's Bike Month, and it's Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. We have lots of education opportunities that we're going to be pushing out on our platforms. It's also National Youth Traffic Safety Month. It's everything month in May. So we're going to be talking about educating young drivers and young ones who are pedestrians and bicyclists as well. We'll also be partnering with NHTSA. They put out a Click It or Ticket campaign around this type of year, right before Memorial Day weekend. And of course, we're always spreading that Vision Zero message is really what it ties back to for us. And then lastly, I just wanted to kind of highlight some of the partners and stakeholders that we've been working with over the last couple of months. I think it's really important that we highlight, Leah and I are a very small team of two. We don't do it, just by ourselves. It's really about our partners out in the community. And so this is just a snapshot of some of those, and it really takes a village to raise that safety awareness. And so we just want to thank some of these partners that are up here. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Leah, and she's going to share more about some of the on-the-ground events that we've been doing in the community.
Thank you, Abby. Good morning, everyone. Leah Nepo, Community Engagement Coordinator, and I will be discussing our recent and upcoming outreach events throughout the spring season. As always, our focus remains delivering outreach that is relevant, meaningful, and impactful to the audiences and safety topics that we serve. April was a busy month for the TPO, filled with hands-on, visual, and verbal safety education across the county. At the beginning of the month, we tabled at the North Brevard Baby Expo, where we served as helmet fitters, this time with an emphasis for toddlers, and provided safety education to moms and moms-to-be navigating a world with increasingly active and diverse transportation options. And in mid-April, we were honored to be invited by NASA to present at their Safety and Health Fair. I delivered a presentation titled Travel Like the Mission Depends on It, where we analyzed driving behaviors specifically around the Kennedy Space Center area and discussed how Brevard County and the SCTPO is addressing these issues through enforcement engineering and education. And finally, during the week leading up to Astronaut High School's prom, we partnered with I Go Now Roadside Towing and Titusville Police Department on an impaired driving awareness campaign. We placed a wrecked vehicle outside the school's main entrance with the message, "Prom night shouldn't be your last night." On prom day, Titusville PD and I handed out sober driving tip cards and Vision Zero fans to students as they entered school, pairing education with encouragement before a very important night. And I want to thank everyone who attended our Vision Zero Summit last month. This summit was nearly a year in the making and was co-managed by myself and transportation planner Patty Rendon. The event featured impactful speakers from Florida Highway Patrol, Health First, City of Cape Canaveral, and Kittleson and Associates on behalf of FDOT. Topics ranged from temporary safety projects and injury prevention to enforcement strategies and the statewide systemic safety initiative and analysis. A major highlight of the summit was the official unveiling of the SCTPO's new Vision Zero toolkit. And following the launch, attendees participated in 3 interactive workshops designed to help more than our 60 attendees engage directly with the toolkit and apply its concept to some real-world safety scenarios. We look forward to continuing our Vision Zero efforts, and if anyone is interested in these toolkit materials, they are available on our website for print and to view. Next, this slide just provides a snapshot of some of our upcoming outreach efforts, though it's not a totally comprehensive list. So if you have any questions or interest in a particular event, I'd be happy to discuss them further afterwards. And if you haven't heard, our open house is coming up on Friday, June 9th. So registration is opening soon for that. So you will receive additional information and details by email as the date approaches from Abby or Zoe. And that is all, so stay connected. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just a comment. It takes 6 times to make an announcement for it to sink in. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, one more before you run off. When you were handing out little cards to the high school kids going to the prom, did it say, "Don't drink, don't text"?
Yes, so we actually had a variety of tip cards. If somebody was coming in on an e-bike, we had one for e-bike riders. If somebody was being driven by their parents or a guardian, we had one for the parents and guardian as well. So we had a variety, distracted driving tip cards, impaired driving tip cards, all of the tip cards, including some of our Vision Zero new toolkit materials as well.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
nice, put together, good,
Thank you so
thoughtful
much.
thing.
Great idea.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, Leah.
Okay, next is the Space Coast Area Transit Report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's been a few months since I've reviewed ridership totals, so I'll start with January. January was 147,681. February was 143,609. And March was 103,418. That being said, for the fiscal year through March, we are currently down 3.86%. Moving on to better news, stop improvements. Meridon Redevelopment Agency has provided 12 semi-seat benches, and transit will begin the installation. The Stops were chosen based on ridership, and those stops that were already ADA compliant with appropriate pads. We've begun the process for 3 shelters on Clear Lake Avenue in Cocoa. These will be at Clear Lake Road and Dixon Boulevard, Clear Lake Road and Sun Home, and the replacement of the shelter at Eastern Florida State College in Cocoa, which is in disrepair. All pads are in place from the construction project on Clear Lake that was planned by both the city and transit. Cocoa Beach, Weston Resort will be placing a shelter in front of the resort on A1A. Their estimated month would be October. This is to replace the shelter at North Atlantic and Holiday Lane on the east side. I have been in contact with the city to make sure that the shelter is of the appropriate type and appropriate color to match others in that area. Housing and Human Services will be providing or adding 3 amenities to stop locations in Brevard County through a community development block grant. Transit center improvements. The transit center has broken ground on passenger restrooms and guard facilities at the Cocoa facility. These are outside of our transit center. Also, there's a new ramp for the Cocoa Learning Center at the Cocoa Transit Center. Over the last 3 months, we have 5 new vehicles, 4 paratransit buses, and 1 volunteer in motion van. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah. Going past Walmart's, I see a bus stop moved outside of the Walmart's, and that used to be a thing that you're losing a lot of time stopping in Walmart. So is that phase 1 of moving the bus stop out in front of the store?
That was done for the construction that's going on at the Walmart. We're still in the process of deciding of whether or not that's going to be a permanent move.
Okay, and I just recall that going into these shopping centers was causing a lot of time and boogering your schedule. And so the idea was, let's get the stop out in front and, just so our schedule could be more timely. But that'll sort itself out. My second question is, we had a Route 10 established in Titusville a couple of years ago, and it's actually a good route on paper. Is it starting to pick up ridership?
It is. It is. I don't have the exact figures, but it is definitely starting to pick up.
Okay, and so the plan is to keep it then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Greg.
Yeah, Jim, I just want to thank you for your help out on Clear Lake Road. I know that whole safety improvement project, we were looking at the stops, and I'm glad to see some of them coming to fruition.
All right, thank you.
Anything else for Jim?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, next up is the Florida Department of Transportation. Good morning, Chuck.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I'm Chuck Hoppenall with Florida Department of Transportation. Okay. Project update since our last meeting. Safety project on State Road A1A from Hidden Cove Drive to Sea Dunes Drive, which was originally scheduled to start in May, has moved to early June. This project includes the install of 2 crosswalks, one at Solway Drive and the other south of Oceanway Drive, and a sidewalk along the southbound lane of A1A between Hidden Cove Drive and Cassique Trail. And another project due to start here in June, which was also originally May, is the resurface of I-95 from the Indian River County line to Babcock Street. And along with this resurface, there will also be working the resurface of the on and off ramps at St. John's Heritage Parkway as well. And 2 projects that have begun since our last meeting. First, we have the intersection improvement project on State Road 519, which is Fisk Boulevard at Lakemore Boulevard / Levitt Parkway intersection, began on April 17th. This project includes new traffic signals providing left turns on the north-southbound State Road 519, along with 4 installed crosswalks with pedestrian signals. The second project is also a safety project at State Road 519 Fisk Boulevard from Barbara Jenkins Street to West King Street, or State Road 520. Also began on April 17th. This involves reducing the speed limit to 35 miles an hour, extending the northbound right turn lane beyond South Street, constructing a shared use path for accommodating bicyclists and pedestrians, and installing a concrete traffic separator between the northbound and the southbound lanes. Additionally, a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, RRFB mid-block crossing will be installed just north of Barbara Jenkins Street. Okay, some events. Brightline, funded with a RAISE grant, had been managing a railroad crossing safety project, which began on April 13th and is continuing until July 3rd, involving the installation of delineators and raised pavement markings. As you can see from the zoom-in pic below the full crossing picture, the work involves installing the white delineators with the red tips on the edge of the travel lanes, along with painting a solid white line in front of the delineators, then the raised pavement markings in front of that line. The work will cover the railroad crossings on the tracks being currently utilized by Brightline within FDOT District 4 and 5, starting in North Brevard County all the way down to south of Broward County. And this is a look at the schedule that they have worked these past month. And it was originally scheduled to continue until the end of this week, but I got an update on Friday that they are actually completing the work today. So after they're done with Brevard County, they still have a lot of work to do in District 4, which is about 4 counties, so they're going to be continuing that until July. And the purpose of this safety measure is to help prevent motorists from turning on the tracks thinking it's a road. Yes, and it does happen more than you think. We recognize April as Distracted Drivers Awareness Month, designating April 20th to the 24th as Work Zone Awareness Week. Working with our law enforcement partners throughout the district, education stops were conducted to educate motorists on potential hazards associated with driving in an active work zone. And just for your information, in 2023, Florida experienced 16,012 work zone crashes, including 74 fatalities and 294 serious injuries. And finally, in conclusion, we're a month away from hurricane season, so preparations should be always on our mind, even all throughout the year. Continue to make sure your plan is in place for a better, safer response for yourself, your family, and your community. Mr. Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Chuck. Anything for Chuck?
Yeah, Ginger.
Is it possible to put some RFBs at the intersection of where Pineda westbound is heading onto 95?
Put some what?
RFBs?
Flashing yellow lights.
Mm-hmm. Where was that again?
On the Pineda Causeway heading westbound for the lane merging onto I-95. That's not pedestrian friendly at all. And also, can we remove the spilled cement in the shoulder of that road before a cyclist gets killed?
Mm-hmm. Spilled concrete.
Still,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I will get that up there for you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Chuck?
Well, maybe while they're at it, there's a bunch of debris there too.
Sweep the bridge. Sweep the bridge.
It's a mess.
It's a very interesting intersection because when you're heading to it from the west, you have bike lane, or shoulder, whatever you want to call it, but you can get off the road. And then all of a sudden, you've got this area where you've got to somehow cross to get over to where the linear trail starts, the Zoo Trail.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting whenever you bring a new bicyclist there who hasn't been you're in the left-hand lane as if you're about to approach you're about to get on the ramp to I-95. and you jokingly tell them, yeah, we're just going to take I-95 for one exit here, don't worry about it, and they're freaking out, you know. And then what you got to do is you got to come down the wrong way on the shoulder, and then so like we build these trails, and then we think there's nothing wrong with not having a connection from where one ends and the next one starts. It's so crazy. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I ride against the flow of traffic on that.
Yeah, I do
Safer,
too.
So you
I
can
do
see where
too.
you're going because it's a really bad design.
Yeah, it's awful.
I will take those comments, absolutely. Gotcha.
Thank you.
Gotcha, ladies.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chuck.
Next up is local government report. Are there any representatives from local government that would like to say anything?
Robert?
Go ahead, Bob.
I just want to call Cliff out for the corporate 5K that Melbourne Airport hosted back on April 9th. It was another great event. The weather could have been a little bit better, especially with the turnaround down the runway, and then you get the 15-mile-an-hour wind in your face. But it was still almost.
Sorry about that.
I think almost 16. Hey, can you work on that? Can you work on that next year? But there were still almost 1,600 participants. It was great that you guys hosted that, and you did a great job as usual.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate that. We have a good time with that event. It actually supports the O'Galley High School Aviation and Aerospace Program, which is a great program. It, basically prepares kids for aviation, and that's important to us at the airport. So, thanks, Bob. Anybody else? I did want to say this weekend, this Saturday at the Melbourne Orlando International Airport, we're hosting the Space Coast Honor Flight. It's the second of 5 flights this year where Space Coast Honor Flight takes 50 veterans up to DC for the whole day on Saturday, and they get to see all the monuments. And then they return back to the airport in the evening about 9 o'clock. But we do a homecoming there, and we have a live band and food trucks, and it's a big celebration. So it's free to the public, and I would encourage anyone that would like to come out, please come out. It's a lot of fun. It's very patriotic, and it's a great way to show some community support.
Debbie?
I have something too. City of Palm Bay's Public Works Department is having an open house May 18th from 5:30 to 6:30. Please stop by. They're going to have hands-on activities to do. So we look forward to seeing you there.
You provide the shovels?
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, if not, this meeting is adjourned.